Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bells Must Ring podcast. I am your host, Andrew Rice, with my usual co host, Arnav Sarkar. Um, we are here to just preview Rutgers' upcoming matchup against the RedHawks of Miami, Ohio, coming on Saturday, September 6th. Last week, we all remember the struggles that Rutgers had putting away Ohio, surrendering a 14-point halftime lead, eventually getting tied up 31-31 before Rutgers was able to kick a field goal and essentially ice the game on top of that. Um, as we remember, the offense really showed up, showed out, and flexed their muscle in the first half. Antoine Raymond broke open the scoring with a touchdown scamper coming on a fourth down conversion. Rutgers converted on 5 fourth downs to really help put Ohio away. And it was kind of concerning because I believe they were only 1 for 10 on a third down, but they
Yeah.
really showed up. Fourth down, were able to get those conversions. And it was mostly short yardage situations, except for the last one where it was a 4th and 8, where Athene Kalikmanis completes a pass to DT Sheffield to essentially ice the game for Rutgers. But yeah, a lot of things to be happy about from the offense, especially in the first half. They did go a little quiet in the second half, but if you break down their drives, they got stopped once. That's never good. But the next drive, but they scored a field goal as well. That's a point. And the last drive that they had at the end of the game. So really, nobody likes a drive where they get stuffed, but it's also not too much of a concern because they were able to move the ball on all those drives. They scored on one of them and they iced the game on the other. You really can't ask for a better way to end the game other than on offense. But on the other side, defense really showed some cracks. Surrendering 440 all-purpose yards, surrendering 31 points, getting carved up by Miami of Ohio, no, not Miami, Ohio quarterback Parker Navarro, who threw for 239 yards, 3 touchdowns, and ran for another 93 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, really was not a great showing by the Scarlet Knight defense. There was very little pressure on Navarro himself. Receivers were often left completely unattended for easy completions, but there was a lot of concern. Hopefully, that they can get that hushed up when they take Miami of Ohio this week. But definitely a lot to be concerned about from that Rutgers defense.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summarized like everything that needs to be summarized. Rutgers offense was firing. I mean, they were winning the line of scrimmage in the run game, which I think is a very big sign. It's always good when like you can run on first and second down, pick up like 5-7 yards per carry. Like you kind of know you're in control. And then the pass game, I mean, they were finding receivers left and right. Ian Strong at 100 receiving yards. Obviously the big pass to DT Sheffield, the punt block. I mean, that's on special teams, but I mean, all of that like really went into everything as well. But I mean, Rutgers, they did one heck of a job. On offense and on special teams. I mean, Jay Patel had a completions record for field goals, 14 stretched it to 15. We talked about the returns of the returning units of last game too, pretty productive as well. I mean, Ohio also had some bad snaps. They had some penalties, but Rutgers, I mean, Jashawn Benjamin had a 27-yard return. Ben Black had a 14-yard return. Cod Sanders had a 23-yard punt return. So, I mean, not bad when you consider all of that. I mean, yeah. But then the defense is just not really, not good. I mean, they got that one stop, obviously in the fourth quarter. So I mean, that was, pretty. I mean, that was a game-saving stop there. But other than that, I mean, Ohio, kind of had their way the same way. They're winning the line of scrimmage in the run game. They were able to pass. I mean, they could not stop a single facet of it, which is the concerning part. And there was very little of a pass rush, if any. but like Rexiana said, there was no contain. Like they lost contain on Navarro. He was not only was able to run around, he was able to throw on the run. He was able to stand in the pocket. I mean, not a single. The run game was good with outside runs by Bangura. There was like not a single part that Rutgers was able to stop. Really, I mean, Ohio outgained Rutgers 40 to 399 yards when Rutgers themselves had a very good offensive showing. And in the second half, yeah, Rutgers got slowed down. But if you really look at those three drives, one of those drives they really did get stopped. They punted away. The other one was a long field goal that ended up going to the Scarlet Knights, or along a drive that ended up with a field goal. And yeah, Rutgers got stopped in the red zone, but at the end of the day, they still put on points, and then finally, finally, their last drive was the end of game situation, so they were able to grind out the clock on that one. So I mean, for the Scarlet Knights to be able to pull that one away, they had three offensive drives, but I mean, in the second half, one of them resulted in points. One of them probably would have resulted in points. The other one was a clear stop. So I mean, the obvious concern is 31 to going from 31 to 3. But if you really look at it, Ohio had much of the possession in that half, and yeah, they could have done better, obviously, but at the same time, um, at the same time, I mean, it doesn't look as bad as you might think at first glance in terms of the offense dropping off. But what was concerning pretty much the entire time was the defense, and that's really what needed a lot of work. And like I said, they couldn't stop a single part of Ohio's offense: the run, the pass, the throwing on the run, the running around. Which I mean, quarterback like Navarro, chances are he's gonna be able to do that. But Rutgers couldn't even contain him in the pocket. They couldn't, prevent him from running outside of the pocket. They couldn't prevent him from throwing on the run. They couldn't prevent the running backs. They couldn't stop the receivers. They couldn't cover the tight ends. Like there was not a single part of it. There was no pass rush. I mean, there's not a single part that they did well. I mean, except for maybe I'll say the secondary covering the deep guys. They did a decent job with that. They got hands to the ball, like I mentioned last time. Other than that, I can't speak to a single part of the defense that really played well. So, I mean, maybe the linebackers, Moses Walker had like, I think 12 tackles or something like that, Jabome. But I mean, the rest of the defense just really was not very productive. So, I mean, they obviously need a lot of work. Moses Walker had 13 tackles. And then I guess, to your point on third down and fourth down, I mean, Rutgers converted one for 10 on third down, which is a bit of a problem. But fourth down, it seems like they really trusted their offense. They got whatever they wanted, whether it was 4th and 1, 4th and 8. Rutgers really put a lot of faith in their offense, and they bailed them out in a big way. So, yeah, I mean, I guess to your point, offense pretty good. Defense not so much. Needs a lot of work. Not too many bright spots. A few things here and there that they did well, but overall, I mean, yeah, not the best showing by the defense. And I mean, we saw Wisconsin get after DeQuan Finn, and he's a mobile quarterback too, but he was not able to get out of there. And it's not impossible to contain a quarterback like that, at least in some of the facets of the game. So for Rutgers to, hopefully against a Miami offense that scored 0 points, for the Rutgers defense to be able to tighten up and make some adjustments, I think is going to be paramount for this week, given, next week we have Norfolk State, and then the week after we have Iowa and Big Ten play. So they really do need to make a lot of adjustments.
They really need to find a way to contain better, especially from what Greg Schiano was saying. It almost seems like when they had those pitch fakes, running quarterback would be running alongside the running back.
Yeah, the
Defender
little
would decide to go for the
option.
quarterback. They would just pitch out to the running back, or other way around. It
Right.
seems like they weren't even in position to make plays on half of those.
Yeah.
They seem like the basic trick plays, and they were almost completely
Right.
fooled.
Yeah.
The pursuit angles were just not there
No,
from
that's
anybody on the defensive side of the ball. He did highlight, or Schiano did highlight, the performance of Jacoby Henderson,
yes.
who did have a very good outing from the defensive back point of view, but him, Walker, and I think that's pretty much it in terms of a solid defensive outing. No pressure on the quarterback, no containment for his scrambling ability, not a lot of big run stops up the middle. Really a lot to be desired from this defensive unit, and they need to show improvement this week. Because if they don't, that's easily. That's an easy tell that it's going to be a long season, especially when we have to, you know, when we have to go, or rather, I guess when Iowa comes to town, and we have to play Iowa ball, or we have to stop Iowa ball to secure a win.
Yeah. And looks like it will be Iowa ball. I mean, if you saw anything from their win against Albany, again, like Gronowski, for all the hype coming in around him, he had a rough game. He was struggling with cramps, but when he was playing in the game itself, like he had 8 for 15, 44 yards and a touchdown. He hardly threw the ball. The announcers were surprised when he did, but the run game was going, and that defensive front has to be ready for that because they're going to try to run the ball down our throats as they've been doing. Their defense is probably going to be just about as good as it has been, and we're going to get a much better test, or we're going to get a much better gauge this week when they take on Iowa State. So definitely try to tune into that if you can for the Rutgers game. But I mean, it's probably going to be another edition of Iowa ball that Rutgers is going to have to try to stop or beat in their own way. And given the way they have to make those improvements on defense, because I mean, as good as the offense is going to be, it's going to be limited by solid Hawks defense, and they're going to have to find some ways to get Iowa off the field as well.
You best believe that Iowa State game is going to be the headliner for our Around the Big Ten series, which
Yes, sir.
started up this
Yeah,
week. That's going to be the headliner game because that
definitely.
affects us
Yeah.
us the most.
It will be, and there's some good Big Ten games against power conference foes. I mean, obviously Iowa State definitely the one to tune into for our sake. It also tends to just be a very good game in general. With Iowa State now being a 3.5 point favorite in this one, but I mean Illinois taking on Duke on the road could be an indication of where the Illini are. I think they're a favorite 2.5, the Illini, and then the other one of the other big game of this week for in the Big Ten at least, Michigan versus Oklahoma. Kind of two big brand names that are both ranked. So I think right now Oklahoma, now the line is 5.5. Michigan got off to a 34-17 win over New Mexico, which is slightly concerning to me, at least defensively. But their quarterback Bryce Underwood, very solid debut for Michigan. So yeah, those are the three main ones. But definitely in terms of Iowa purposes, like that's the Iowa State clash is going to be one to watch. Yeah, I mean Rutgers does have to tighten up on the defensive side of the ball. Otherwise, I mean it could be a long game. So I mean, or it could be a long season, really. I mean, because like these defenses on the other side are going to be tough. The offenses are going to be better. And that I guess that really starts with Iowa, but I mean it really starts next week with Miami, Ohio too. Like I mean, they have to. It'll be a very interesting test for against the RedHawks. So I mean, if we want to get into, I guess, breaking down their game against Wisconsin, we could definitely do
Yeah,
that.
so I was going to say, speaking of the defensive side of the ball, we have a program that lives and dies on it coming into Piscataway next week. As as I mentioned earlier, Rutgers will be taking on the Miami of Ohio RedHawks. Last week, Miami of Ohio did play another Big Ten team in Wisconsin. They lost to the Badgers 17-0 in a game where their offense was very pedestrian, really couldn't get anything going. DeQuan Finn, their quarterback, threw for 83 yards, 2 picks. He carried the ball 12 times and gained 13 yards, but some of those carries were registered as sacks as well. On the running back side of things, their lead runner was running back Kenny Tracy, who only had 6 carries for 15 yards, and that was it. So a very, very weak, poor showing by the Red Hawk offense. However, the game was not easily put out of reach, and that is because the Red Hawk defense really did everything in their power to keep the Badger offense in check. Wisconsin only went into the half with a 3-point lead because the Red Hawk defense was able to keep them in check for pretty much the entire game. They were limited to, I want to They were limited to about 350 yards of offense throughout the entire match. Um, Linebacker Adam Trick, who was specifically called out by Shiano as somebody that they're going to have to know where he is on the field at all times. He had an excellent showing against the Badgers, recording 5 solo tackles, six tackles in total, 2 sacks, and 1 pass defended. I mean, yeah, if Shiano is calling out a specific player in a press conference, you best believe that they had the game of their life the day before or the week
Yeah.
before. because he's usually not the kind of guy to really give much throughout a press conference. He loves to do his coaches speak, but
Yeah,
since he is specifically calling out Trick, and it shows through his production against Wisconsin, he really was all over the field. He is
right.
somebody that the Knights are going to have to game plan for, and this seems like a battle of strength versus and weakness versus weakness. The Rutgers offense against the Redhawk defense, the
Hmm.
Redhawk offense against the Rutgers defense. Um, the big question is which defense is going to break first? The weaker defense with a little bit less pressure on it, or the stronger defense under a lot more pressure? It's going to be very interesting to see
I know.
which offense can take advantage.
Yeah, very interesting game. It feels like it could play out the opposite of the way Ohio did. I mean, obviously that game, I think, was a showdown between the two stronger offenses against the two weaker defenses. And this one, Miami, Ohio, with a very strong defense and a relatively weaker offense. I mean, they had 0 against the Wisconsin Badgers, who also have a very good defense, as we saw. I mean, they were all over Daquan Finn, who's probably similarly mobile to Parker Navarro. I mean, maybe a little bit in different ways, but they're both very mobile quarterbacks. I mean, they were still able to contain him, and Rutgers was not able to do that with Parker Navarro, not one bit. And at the same time, Navarro or Finn, I mean, they completely shut him down on both sides. I mean, with both pass and the pass and the run. I mean, I don't know. Some of the Daquan Finn's throws also weren't really the best, but he went 9 for 18, 83 yards, 2 interceptions, a QBR of just 15.9. So just really not a great game. And then 12 carries for 13 yards. I mean, they stopped him in the run game. They stopped Kenny Tracy, who only had 6 carries for 15 yards. So just Miami, Ohio, just not, none of the receivers really had it. And their leading receiver was Cole Weaver, who had 3 receptions for 35 yards. But with all of that being said, I mean, like, a team has 0 and they're in the game in the third quarter, the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? Like it really says something about their defense that in that type of a game, they're giving their offense like chance after chance, and it almost feels like the Rutgers, like, team of old in a way where that kind of used to happen until like the dam finally broke. But I mean, that props to their defense. I mean, the secondary duo of or safety duo of Eli Bleakley and Silas Walters both showed up. 8 total tackles for each of them. Walters had an interception in the end zone. Both of them had pass deflections. I mean, Adam Trick was all over the field, as we mentioned, 6 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 2 TFLs, and a pass deflection. I mean, he was like the guy to watch out for. But I mean, they were really all like, swarming the quarterback. Like, I have my series on the opponent film series, so if you want to check that out, I have descriptions of all their highlights. But I mean, really, it was like Adam Trick. It was the interception. It was stopping the run, stopping the pass. Like, I mean, they kind of had all of it going. I mean, that pass rush is very good. Sometimes they'll rush linebackers in addition to the front 4. So, I mean, Rutgers has to be ready for a blitz at any time as well. So, I mean, it's just, there's a lot going on. But eventually, Wisconsin, the dam broke on them, and they didn't really have enough to, obviously, of their own. So, it's a really good question. Like, I mean, Finn is a mobile quarterback like Navarro, but yet Wisconsin was able to contain him, and I don't know. Can Rutgers do the same, or are they going to struggle with that facet a little bit more? Like, I don't know. How do you see like that kind of thing playing out?
Well, personally, I don't think that Daquan Finn is somebody that should be overlooked. He was at Baylor last year. He does have Power Four talent. He was part of, and I think Shiano mentioned that
Yeah,
this was a NCAA high, but
93
he
touchdown.
was 93.
Yeah,
He was part of 93. I thought it was 92, but 93 Division 1 touchdowns, which you don't get if you're a bad player.
no,
That's just the truth. That does not happen if you're a bad player. You don't go from one of the most dominant Toledo teams in the group of 5,
right,
sorry,
right.
um, to Baylor and get picked up by Baylor just to go back to one of the most dominant group of 5 teams and not
Yeah,
be a good player. He's somebody that maybe he had a down week, but he's still going to be a tall task for the Rutgers defense to handle. Um, I think that if it wasn't ingrained in their head with containment about how last game went, this is then there's going to be some problems. But if it's ingrained in their head and they truly make the adjustments that they need to do to properly contain what they need to do, I mean, to properly contain him and force him into the pocket, I don't see the running game being as much of a threat as it was for Ohio against Rutgers. But if they don't learn their lesson when it comes to keeping the quarterback in the pocket, it could be a very long day. But if they do, then Rutgers should be able to pull this one out with ease. But we'll have
Right.
to see.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a very similar type of player to Navarro. I mean, Navarro very very mobile of a quarterback. So is Finn. Like, and passing wise too, no slouch. I mean, we saw like 3 seasons at Toledo, he had over 2,000 yards. I mean, and then transferring to Baylor, and then in those 3 seasons, he also had over 500 yards of rushing. So I mean, this is a guy who can absolutely take off. I mean, he's had a long of 70 in one particular season, 38 and 56, 39 in his 1 year at Baylor. So this guy can absolutely scramble the same way Navarro did for long gains. He could throw. He has a big arm, just like Shiano said. He's a very similar type of player. They both have big arms. They both can run. Rutgers has to work on containing him in the pocket and trying, I guess daring him to beat them with his arm, where he kind of struggled a little bit last week. You want to take your chances on that and not have him also run all over the field, because that could be a recipe for disaster. But at the same time, if they do focus on that, I think then Rutgers would probably have the advantage if they can contain him in the pocket. But yeah, I mean, in terms of strength versus strength, weakness versus weakness, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is a battle of the Rutgers offense, which posted 27 points plus the 7 on special teams, going against the Miami Ohio defense, who allowed 17 points, but really it was 10 because like one of those was a near pick 6 that set up Wisconsin from just outside the 1 or something around that length, and it was really 10 points plus like kind of a lucky break. So I mean, it was just to do that against a Big Ten team, even with a backup quarterback, is just really impressive. And I don't know how good Wisconsin's offense is, but chances are Rutgers doesn't score 34. They might be in the 20s. We'll get to score predictions in a little bit. On the other hand, I mean, Miami, Ohio isn't going to go scoreless the entire season. Chances are they get on the board. The question is, how many can they score? It depends on how, DeQuan Finn does as a passer and also as a runner, if they can get their guys going. I feel like they will get on the board, but how much? I mean, that's a big question, because I mean, if suddenly an offense that scored 0 against Wisconsin drops 14, 17, 20, that means Rutgers could be in quite a bit of trouble for the season, even if they do win the game.
No, I think you examined it perfectly right there. But the real question is, at like what point do you think that, okay, this is a concerning amount to surrender to this type of offense? For me personally, I think it's 2 touchdowns, because not only did they not score against Wisconsin, judging from these stat lines, they don't even look like they got close.
Yeah, I don't think they even really moved the ball that well. Like, looking at where they were when they punted, I mean, I don't know how many times they even crossed midfield to be completely. And even if they did, they ended up pinning Wisconsin deep. Like, again, the Wisconsin pass rush was all over Finn, which is hard to do with a mobile quarterback. But again, it's not impossible. Like, Ohio State's probably going to be all over Navarro in 2 weeks. Like, we just saw what they did to Texas. But I mean, it's not impossible. Now, it does require like a very good defense. But at the same time, Miami, Ohio was also like shut out, and it didn't look like they were particularly close. It's not like they got turned away on the goal line multiple times like Texas did. But I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. But I don't know. I mean, that's with the way the Rutgers defense was, like, who knows, like, how many points. Like, I don't think they're going to score like 30 and like completely shock everybody, but I would not be surprised if they score at least 10 to 14. It just depends on how good the Rutgers defense is, how many improvements they make, and where the Miami offense really is, because chances are that was also an off game for them. I mean, the chances are they're not going to be that bad the whole season. Obviously, their competition is going to get easier, but I mean, it depends on like how Finn does. It depends on how Kenny Tracy does. It depends on how Finn can do as a runner and a passer, and where the Rutgers defense is in covering all those different things. And they really struggled in every facet against Ohio. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know, like 14 for you, if that's the number. I would maybe say 17, but like, I mean, if I had to put like an exact number on it, I mean, well, Wisconsin did score 17, but like, I mean, one of them was almost like a defensive touchdown. So like, it was really 10. So if they end up scoring more than that, like, 14 to 17 on Rutgers, and then they also hold Rutgers to now like maybe in the 20s, and this could be like a close game. So I mean, I would say like 14 to 17 points would be like the area for concern if I had to put a number on it. But it also depends on what do they look like in those points? Are they able to really move the ball, or is it just like a fluke shot here and there, like kind of thing like that?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Even if it is a fluke shot, I don't think they should be really having those fluke
That's
shots because
true.
the
Yeah.
receivers didn't show blow by speed. If anything, those fluke shots mean a blown coverage or a miscommunication with the defense, which is a whole other issue on top of it.
Yeah.
We have too much speed in that defensive backfield um, to be able to be giving up long bombs. And if we do
Right.
give up long bombs, they should have enough speed to be able to recover on them.
Yeah. That's true. That's the one thing we saw against Ohio that I feel like they did well on defense. Like besides the linebackers, like I said, like they were able to cover, and anytime Navarro went deep, like they had an answer for that. And some of the throws were also a little off by Navarro, but even if they weren't, the coverage was very tight. And I mean, I wouldn't expect any craziness out of it. But for me, it's more of a question of, can they move the ball like often and successfully? Can they like have no problems and with in the run game and in the pass game, if they can chunk their way down the field like the way Ohio did, I'd be like a bit worried. But if it, you know what I mean. But overall, I think 14 to 17. Considering they allowed 17 to Wisconsin, but it was really 10 plus like that 1 yard rush that was set up by the defense. If it's more than that, even by like a little bit, like I'd be a little worried if they put 14 to 17 on us, especially if they put more than that on us, because then there's real questions about the defense.
This was more so a question of like, at what point would you be worried for the rest of the season? Like, at how much points do they have to score for you to be worried about the defense for the rest of the season?
I
Not
don't
to win the game. I think
Right.
Rutgers is still
I
going to
think
pull off the win, but no matter what.
for the season, like that's a good. I mean, and we just don't know how good their offense really is, though. Like, I mean, like we could say they're bad right now, but like maybe Wisconsin's defense is also just really good. Like, which they were. So we don't know until later. I mean, but I'd say if they score more than 20, like I would be worried for the season for sure. Under that, I think maybe Rutgers, like there's a chance that things can still get turned around, I guess. But like if they score more than 20 after the showing that they had last week, like I'd be a bit worried. Yes.
That's a fair point. In all honesty, I think if they score more than 17, because I'm going 14 for the game, 17 for the season. I think if they score more than 17, that's when we really need to be concerned. Because, like I said, in that Wisconsin game, not only did they not score, they didn't even get close to scoring.
That's true.
But that's where I would personally be concerned. I think that the offense is going to be able to find more holes in that Redhawk defense than Wisconsin was able to. I believe our offense is a little bit better, especially in the passing game, with receivers like DT Sheffield, KJ Duff, and Ian Strong. I think we're able to get a lot more movement from the ball. I think Antoine Raymond, CJ Campbell is probably one of the best running back duos in the Big Ten. Possibly, could be. We'll have to see, but I think they could be.
I'd say after the big dogs in the conference, like I'd say Rutgers running back room would be like close to the top-ish. I mean, I don't think it's Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, I think would probably be one by a margin, and then I don't know, like it depends like how you want to rank them, but I'd say Rutgers has a case for being in.
But they're in that second tier, where we usually traditionally put like Iowa's
run game will probably be up there, like the way I saw them. Oregon, I think, has a couple good backs over there. Ohio State was a little underwhelming, but I mean, they're no Travion and Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins. They might be pretty decent though. Like Rutgers might be like Illinois duo like Ian Lawfrey and their other guy Caden Fagan. They might be pretty good, but I think after that top tier, Rutgers definitely has a claim for that second tier of backs. And honestly, I don't know about Ohio State's running back room. We'll see, but like I mean, also Texas's defensive front was very, very solid. They limited just about everything. But I mean, so but yeah, in terms of the Scarlet Knights, I think absolutely. I think they second tier, top 5, top 7. I think they're definitely among that good. And I think Rutgers will go to a lot of that kind of run game, because I think someone commented it on my post about the game preview and everything. I think it was John, like Katapano, who I think also used to write here. Like, he said Rutgers is going to try to run the ball and keep Miami Ohio's pass defense honest, which I think is a really good strategy. Get them to back off a little bit, use the play action to take some deep shots down the field, but mainly rely on that run game to kind of wear off Miami Ohio, keep their defense off the field if that's still a question mark. And then on the other side of the ball, I mean, they got to get to work on that containment, obviously, and put the pressure on Finn in the pocket and see what happens, because I think that's the strategy to a win at that point.
I think it's more so like playing to your strength. That's the biggest thing. Where's Rutgers' strength going to be throughout the season? It's going to be that offensive line and the offensive line depth.
Yeah.
I think because I feel like you can realistically expect the defense to hold up well against the Miami of Ohio offense. I think you could reasonably expect it. So I would try to wear down that defense, play some wear down ball, continue like run.
I think that's the main way to win. I mean, we saw it against Ohio too. Like, even though with the receivers were going off and stuff, like they had space, and Ohio also, I guess, had a busted coverage a little bit with Sheffield flying behind them. But I mean, as good as the receiving core was, I mean, that run game, like the big thing was Rutgers was winning the line of scrimmage against Ohio, at least in the first half on offense with the run game. I mean, they, like I said to start the episode, they're picking up 5 yards a carry, 6 yards a carry on first down, getting into second and manageable, third and short, like those types of situations, because the run would pick up a solid chunk of yards on first down. And if they could just do that, it just makes everything more comfortable for the offense as a whole. Now, if you want to take a risk with the pass, you can. So I mean, run the ball. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they have to do in this game. And in terms of the passing, I mean, that will be there. We know that, but I mean, I think you got to run the ball. Take that ability away from Miami to just be able to rush the passer whenever, keep them guessing, and then mix in the pass. When it's comfortable, then you have the luxury to take deep shots and open up the pass game as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said, I think it's gonna be an ugly game. It's not gonna be a pretty, flashy, high scoring. No,
it's probably not even gonna be like the way Week 1 was. Like, I don't see this game anywhere close to like 34-31.
No, not personally. But since we're talking about scores, we might as well just roll into our score predictions. What a transition, right?
Yeah.
Since we are talking about scores, we might as well roll into our score predictions. I personally have Rutgers winning 24-10. That I feel like it's going to be probably like 17-7 or 17-10 throughout most of the game.
Rutgers tacks on a late, I guess, kind of thing.
Yeah, Rutgers tacks on a late one to kind of end it. The defense plays well enough to where we aren't sweating for the rest of we aren't immediately on the edge of our seat and panicking about the rest of the season.
Goodness.
But they don't play good enough to the point where we're not concerned either.
Yeah, like I said, I think Miami will get on the board. I think 24-10 is pretty reasonable. I was in that ballpark, honestly, too. Like, I feel like I have to change the number because I can't exactly.
Well, I was gonna say you got to pick something else now. We have to have some sort of disagreement.
Yeah. Geez, I mean, like, I don't know. That sounds like almost so right, but like, I don't know. I feel like maybe in some way, I don't know. I think that defense is still a little bit concerning to me, like for Rutgers, and I think Miami, Ohio. I think Finn, his mobility might surprise some that saw him got like obliterated by Wisconsin. I just don't think Rutgers has the pieces in place to get to him the same way. I think they will find a way to get 2 touchdowns, but Rutgers also tacks on a late field goal, so 27-14 Scarlet Knights.
You want to hear something funny? My original prediction before I kept rethinking it was going to be 27-10.
Oh, I got you. I'm going to go with the cautious, but optimistic approach here with a 27-14 win for Rutgers. I think that should still be where the over under is. I have to double check on that, but it also would cover the spread, but just barely because the spread's 14.5.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not gonna go. I'm gonna say Rutgers doesn't cover the spread. I'm just gonna
I
say that
see.
right now.
Yeah, so you have them what 24-10? You said
Yeah, I said 24-10. FanDuel has the line currently at 14 and a half.
14
So
and a half.
Rutgers would really need to win like 25-10 to
Yeah,
cover that
it's like
spread.
very close to it, but like I guess Miami would get a cover. It wouldn't be like a sweater, like it wouldn't be like a 24-21 or 20-14. Although after seeing last week, like I wouldn't rule something like that out. I just don't think Miami of Ohio has the offense to really give Rutgers that kind of test that Ohio did basically.
I was gonna say Rutgers better start installing some pads on the seats if they're always gonna have us sitting at the edge of them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I think Rutgers does get a two-score victory in this one. I think it is kind of like a late tack on. I think like in my prediction, I have them up 24-14, kind of in comfortable position, but then they add a field goal as opposed to it being like 20-14 and a late touchdown. But it could be that second one too, if we're being completely honest. But either way, I'm at 27-14. You're at 24-10. I think we're thinking similarly. Maybe I'm giving both offenses, like a little bit more credit than you are, but that's okay to have a difference of opinion. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, like, I wouldn't rule out like a one-score game after last week. I just don't think Miami of Ohio has the offense to, really do that. Like, I mean, compared to like Ohio, like which did. So that's my thought. I guess another thing that I guess I wanted to say, like about Ohio, like I know this is Miami, Ohio now, but I think what impressed me most about them as a team isn't even that they came back, or no, I mean, well, actually, like it is that they came back. It's not even that they lost by 3 points. I think what impressed me the most is that they came back from down 17, because that, like at halftime, usually the better
Yeah,
team is going to make the adjustments. And the Rutgers almost, and I don't want to say they got lucky because Rutgers focuses so much time on special teams. The deep pass to Sheffield. Sheffield's a talented athlete. We know that he has that speed. Ohio defensive lapses. They got to work on it. But that being said, I mean the way that the bad snap, they have to work on that too. There's no sugarcoating, and they're playing two tough teams in West Virginia and Ohio State. But I think they do have a chance in West Virginia. But what impressed me the most is that they came back. They dug themselves out of a hole. They made the adjustments. Rutgers didn't, and that's what really impressed me the most, that they were able to. It would be one thing if they took a lead, like a fluky 14-point lead, and then the wheels fell off the wagon. Then I'd be like, well, maybe they are a good team, but they also got lucky. This was completely impressive that they were able to take it to a Big Ten team in the second half. And that's when I know they're actually here for real. And I mean, they can make those adjustments. It wasn't just one half or whatever. Like they're, even though they made mistakes, they were able to come out of it. And that's what impressed me the most about Ohio. So that relates to Miami, Ohio. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I mean, that I just wanted to say that because that just like really did impress me. That's something that Rutgers has to be able to make those adjustments too, because chances are they're going to be trailing in some of these games against contenders early too, or even if they're not, they have to be able to fight the whole game in the second half. They're going to be in this position later on in the season themselves.
yeah. Especially, you got to really tip your cap to Navarro personally. There was one play I believe Shiano was describing in his press conference where Navarro was dropping back, had a hand in his face.
Yeah, he
Um,
lofted the ball high, and
yeah,
Ohio.
lofted on the ball high and was able to like basically throw it on a line for his receiver. Which at that point, it's like,
Yeah, you gotta.
well, what else can you do? It's I
Yeah,
mean, what else can you do? You can get a sack or you could get an incompletion, but you get the point. Like, hand in the face, uh, pulling the arm back and just letting one float and being perfectly on time with it.
I
Like
know.
what are the odds almost?
Right? Like he's one heck of a player, and when he started like scampering around, taking off and throwing on the run, I mean he's poised and he just had a great game. So again,
Makes you wonder like why he hasn't taken the jump to the Power 5 level yet. He
I
feel
don't
like he
know.
should at
That's
he
a good
should at this
question. Well,
point.
Shiano was saying if he was 3 inches taller, he'd probably be at Notre Dame. So that's probably a reason why, like, he ended up going to Ohio. He's a little on the shorter side. I think he's 6 foot, a flat, or maybe even like a little bit under. I think he's 6 foot flat, which for a quarterback is a little bit on the short side because you're supposed to be able to see over your lineman the whole 9 yards. But I mean, what a talented athlete. And then we're getting another one into Quan Finn, which is the other point Chiano made. So I mean, we'll see how that how Rutgers can make those adjustments, having already played someone that has a very similar build and a very similar game style, both using his arms and his legs.
Yeah, but I think we could both agree that the game is going to end by that reasonable 2-score ballpark.
I think so. I think this time it's not going to come down to as close as it was.
No. Was there anything else you wanted to mention before we get out of here today?
Oh, I mean, no, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. Like, I mean, Rutgers, definitely Ohio was definitely a sweater, as we mentioned. This, I did want to say the student section and the crowd, they were like just really solid. I mean, it wasn't completely full, but whoever was there, I mean, Greg Schiano mentioned that, Ohio like ended up that punt block was a result of the student section, being loud, causing a delay of game or some sort of procedural penalty on Ohio's part that allowed them to send the pressure. And I thought that was really interesting because we always hear about how how students can affect the game, how the crowd can affect the game. In this case, they really did affect the game. And I watched that punt play back, and I saw Rutgers ended up rushing 8 at the punter. They had 8 to protect, but I mean, when you have 8-on-8, typically like the defense is gonna end up winning that. And also that second when the ball hit the turf, caused enough delay. But Rutgers also practices that they've been able to block punts when there was no delay, so they just have a real knack for only getting the ball down, but then recovering in the end zone. And then, but yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, so again, like to anyone listening who might have an interest in going, whether you're a student, whether you're a fan, alumni, like we need you there. We really do need you there. Please come, and you can make an impact on the game. And I think that's the absolute like coolest part about all of that.
First of all, football is one of the few games where the crowd can directly influence what goes on the field. Um, not in basketball, in hockey, in soccer, there's no real crowd influence. But in football, a crowd can force a team to take a penalty, like
Yeah,
what happened when Rutgers played Ohio. If the crowd
exactly.
is loud enough and they can't hear a snap count, I
Yeah,
think you all remember what happened to the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks with that
yeah.
loud crowd.
I'm thinking about
First play from
Michigan.
scrimmage, it was so loud the snap goes flying over Peyton Manning's head, and that was
Yeah, that
pretty much
resulted
the
in
end
a
of that
story
game.
too. Yeah, I'm thinking of Michigan versus Penn State. They had to burn a timeout on the first play of the game at the whiteout. Like that's
Yep.
another example of something like that happening. Which that moment obviously is in college football infamy. But for Rutgers to be able to pull that off, I mean, student section was there 45 minutes before. It was packed. It was loud. Our whole side of the stadium was. I mean, it was some kind of environment. So this game's not a night game. It's not a Thursday night. It's a Saturday afternoon, 3:30. Hopefully that doesn't stop too many people from
Looks to be
showing up
beautiful
and
weather
trying out.
too.
It should be a good one, as we talked about, not expecting like a complete washover of a game either. So once again, I mean, yeah, it should be a good day for football, and I hope we get a good crowd, a good showing, and obviously, I hope we get a win. And I think, some breathing room going into Big Ten play as well. So hopefully, Rutgers is able to do all of that in one go.
Yeah, and we'll see you in the stadium on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll have coverage for on the banks, in the feed and on Twitter, all that good stuff for you as well.
Yep. But that pretty much does it for everything that we have here today. Obviously, get to the stadium, get there early. Everyone always complained about how the student section left early. They were there the entire time, and they were there 45 minutes early.
Yep.
Follow their example this time. But with that, like I said, that pretty much does it for everything that we have to do here today. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will have a regular Bells episode coming out after the game to recap and talk about all the other happenings in the various non-revenue sports of Rutgers athletics. So be on the lookout for that. That should be coming out, I think, on Sunday, Monday around that time. And then, yeah, we might take a. We wanted to do a little bit of a preview with a special guest for every game. We might not be able to do that for Norfolk State. We're having a little bit of but we still expect a preview episode, at least from us, for
Yep.
that. And thank you guys so much for listening. Remember, as always, that the bells must ring.